Greetings and welcome to the Transform Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Anastasio. Welcome to episode 82. It's Thursday, August 25th, 2022. And like I said, this is the 82nd episode of our podcast. Very quickly, if you missed our episodes last week, 80 and 81, on August 18th, we published an episode talking about the importance of being contextual on your platforms. When you post on social media, and I talked a little bit about how to achieve that. Like if you had some video content, you were trying to make a YouTube short, and an Instagram reel, and a TikTok video, how you might change those three up at least a little bit to be contextual to each one of those platforms. So you can check that out in episode 80, 81. Maybe more on the drier side of some of the episodes that we've published, but still, nonetheless, worthwhile educationally, I think. Was talking about the importance of maintaining a content calendar and how you can set up your content calendar to stay, basically to keep yourself organized in terms of, what you've been posting, what you plan on posting, and things of that nature. So what I wanted to do today, guys, this would be a pretty short episode, and just as a disclaimer, guys, I had some unexpected travel pop up for the end of this week, so there's a chance, I don't want to say 100%, but there's a chance that this will be the only episode this week, and then come back next week with episode 83 to balance things out, and then pick up 2 per week the week after, or modify the schedule in some way to accommodate things, so maybe even do 3 episodes next week to really get caught up. So there could be, just look out for some fluctuation, guys. I'm not 100% sure that we won't have episode 83 to you by this weekend, but in case we don't, at least, you kind of have a heads up and you have a sense of why. So here's the thing, guys. This episode is actually kind of a little bit of a mea culpa, and sort of a loop closure, if you will, from episode 66, which we published on June 13th. So about 2 months back or so, a little over 2 months back. And that episode was titled Create Video Content with Loom. And if you guys recall, if you heard that episode, or if you haven't heard that episode, Loom is an application, website that you can log into on your laptop, for example, as well as an app on your phone that allows you to do screen recordings with some video like down in the corner, puts like a little circle with your face there, and of course has the audio component. So it creates this sort of multifaceted piece of content where you have a little bit of video going on, you have audio, you have a pictorial representation in the background, whether it's PowerPoint slides or a Word document, or you're using a piece of software and showing somebody how to use it. In essence, a great tool for tutorials. And I think that's what it was essentially kind of made for initially, if I had to take a guess. I've also seen some online forums where teachers use it. Teachers use it for their classes, their students, to kind of explain different processes or equations or things like that. So it's a great, great tool for memorializing some kind of presentation, however formal or informal that is. So what we were talking about in episode 66, guys, is that you could use Loom to create video content, right? I mean, basically the only issue, I guess, that kind of stands between the user and the video content is they have to click a link. Okay, so basically if you post a Loom video, it's going to show up as like a little miniature video, and it's going to say, click here to watch video. So the person doesn't just see the video in your social media account, let's say like in your Facebook newsfeed, they'll see the clickable card, if you will, that they then have to click on, and that takes them to the video. So you could argue maybe there's a friction point there that would stop somebody from watching it. But for those that go through to it, it's a rewarding piece of content, from a conceptual standpoint. I mean, it has, like I said, you show your face in it, they can hear you, they can kind of sort of see you, if you're gesturing or whatever inside the window there. They then see whatever you're talking about in the background. Let's say you're explaining, your services, to your customers. You can have your website in the background. You can kind of walk through the different services, or, if there's, let's say, you're doing thought leadership, you can put an article up on your screen and you can comment on it. You can scroll through it and point out different passages and things of that nature. So Loom content, I think, is underrated. I actually haven't seen anybody make Loom content like that or use it in that capacity. So I think it's a really interesting way for you guys to have that tool. You can use it for a lot of different reasons. You do get some free usage out of it at first, but then you have to end up paying for it. So, all that intro being out of the way, I'm back here with the mea culpa because in that episode, and I may not recall this perfectly, but I'm pretty sure in that episode I talked about how after you produce a Loom, you can strip out the audio and you can turn it into text, and you can then have a blog post from it or a series of tweets or whatnot. Well, it turns out, and this is a feature I'd never even looked at for long, I always used it for the video portion, was that Loom transcribes your video. Loom has a transcript that runs down, basically like if you're looking at, let's say you're inside Loom right now and you've got the video, up on your screen, there's a panel to the right that actually has time-stamped transcription of your video. So basically, it has like, at the 1 minute mark, it has a paragraph or so from what you were talking about. And then, 2.5 minutes, it has a paragraph or two of what you were talking about. And it's really, really fascinating that was always there, and I just didn't look for it, did not think to use it. So now, don't get me wrong. If you have a conversational speaking style, I think I probably fall into that category. You can't just pull that transcript and just package it up as a blog post and put it out, unless you're actually trying to capture the way you spoke something into existence. If you're trying to use it, let's say, to form the framework of a more formal blog post, for example, or you're trying to really extract discrete kind of tweets from it that you can post on Twitter, you probably have to scrub it. You got to look through it. You got to see like where are the ums and ahs, where are the transitions, where are the asides, is there anything that doesn't belong there, things of that nature. So basically, you at least have something to start with. At a bare minimum, you have something to start with. You can just go into Loom, you look in that right panel, there's a copy button, you just click that button, go over to a Word document, go over to a Google Doc, paste it, and now you've got textual content. And like I said, you're going to have to do some trimming and removing of things, but it's a huge leap forward. It's essentially putting post-production tools in your hand. If you follow this stuff a lot, you know that post-production is really where the work kind of gets done. You can create raw videos all day, you can create raw audio all day. If you're trying to make the most out of that content that you can, you have to be good at post-production. You have to be kind of dialed in on post-production. And so basically that's what Loom is already allowing you to do with their platform. Create a video, get your tutorial type video presentation, and oh, by the way, they post-produce text for you because they were transcribing it all along. So it's a tremendous time saver, and it just weaponizes Loom even more than I thought initially. So here we are about nearly about 15 or so episodes later, and I got to come back to you guys with the news on this that hey, if you are using Loom, if you did hear our previous episode, if you have thought about using the app, guess what? You can pull down a transcription of your of your presentation and everything you said. So anyway, just wanted to point that out to you guys. I thought it was important enough that it warranted an episode because, number one, I left this part out previously. Number two, I really think Loom is an underrated way to produce sophisticated content, or informal. No pressure there, but you can definitely create some very structured, very effective content using Loom. And like I said, you just have to realize that people are going to have to click on it to get over to the video. So that's kind of like the one little drawback, I think. So anyway, having gotten in a plug for Loom, by the way, we don't get anything from Loom. I don't get anything from Loom. Wonder if Loom has even heard of us talking about Loom. But definitely, guys, I think it's worth taking a look at it. Take a look at it, see what it's capable of, and now go into that experiment knowing that you're not just going to get a good piece of video content out of it, you're going to get textual content as well. Okay, guys, so let's leave it here in case I don't get to talk to you guys again this week. I would hope everybody has a great weekend here in the States. It'll be our last summer weekend before Labor Day weekend, when we really sort of like unofficially go into fall. So, depression factor kicks in a little bit with the temperatures getting ready to fall. But that aside, if we can come back to episode 83 this week, we'll do it. But otherwise, if we didn't do it, my goal would be to publish 83, 84, and 85 to get back on track next week. So we'll see which of these scenarios comes to pass. But anyway, hope you guys are having a great week. or at least getting ready for the weekend and so forth. Thank you for supporting our podcast. Thank you for checking us out online. You can always find Transform over on Facebook and LinkedIn. Just type in Transform. You can go to the website, transform.com. And, of course, we encourage you to subscribe to our podcast and share it with every single person you know. So that exaggeration is where we'll leave it today. Really appreciate you guys checking in with us and listening to today's episode, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.